Prosecutor demands 16 years for brutal assault on former Carnival queen. POSH gearing up for events this weekend, but first, former Mayor Albert Fleming passes away. This is SXM Daily News for Thursday, June 29th, 2023. With a synopsis of local, national, regional, and international news, I am your anchor, Valerie Van Putten. Welcome and thank you for joining me today. In our first story, some sad news. Former Mayor of French St. Martin, Mr. Albert Fleming, who presided over the territory during the Commune era for 24 years from 1983 to 2007, passed away on Wednesday. He was 86 years old and would have celebrated his 87th birthday this July. His ex-wife, Juliana Fleming, said that he passed away from heart failure at approximately 6:30 p.m. Wednesday evening. He had been admitted to the hospital on Monday, June 26th, and up to that point, he had not been in poor health. He was always a very strong man, she said. President of the Collectivité, Mr. Louis Mussington, reacted with profound sadness at the news of his passing. This news has plunged our island into a sea of sorrow, he said. A local boy who had a deep bond with every inhabitant of St. Martin, every family. Mayor Albert Fleming Romney was much more than a politician. He was a true figure of our community, respected by all, always humble, smiling, and attentive to the well-being of his constituents. Regardless of his political affiliation, he was appreciated for his qualities and his frankness. Mayor Albert Fleming will always be remembered as the last mayor of French St. Martin.
First of all, we need to give our thanks to all of those actors who was, I would say, instrumental on putting this together. I think all the politicians, all the technicians, the deputies and the senators of Guadeloupe did a tremendous job to get the document that is now being into the legal hands, now to see it legally, how if there's any flaws in it to be changed, and then it will go for promulgation. I think that what we need to understand that this is not a perfect law. This is not all the things that we wanted, but I think it's a stepping stone. I think that I would not say this evening that it is no good for St. Martin. I say that this is the beginning, and we need to embellish it as we go along in our life.
And we here at SXM Daily News would also like to extend our deepest condolences to the family and friends who are left to mourn. In other news, foreigners who feel that they have been or are being defrauded by an immigration consultant on St. Martin are urged by the Ministry of Justice to call the St. Martin Police Force, KPSM, Fraud Department. Justice Minister Anna Richardson said on Wednesday that she's warning of ghost consultants scamming residence permits applicants out of their money. Fraudulent immigration consultants are also ghost consultants and are individuals or organizations that falsely represent themselves as licensed immigration consultants or lawyers to provide immigration services for a fee. They are accepting people's money and also money from individuals, and they are not submitting papers for them at the immigration office. Minister Richardson said on Wednesday morning during the weekly Council of Ministers press briefing.
Thank you. I wanted to just touch on the fact that this past June 21st and 22nd, I had the honor of hosting the second and final EAVO for the 2023 year here in St. Martin. The Judicial Four-Party Consultation, often referred to as the EAVO conference, requires a biannual consultation of meetings between the four ministers of justice within the kingdom. I am pleased to report that these meetings were successful and many participants expressed their satisfaction with the outcome of the discussions with the organization of the conference and the topics that we covered. Having achieved a consensus on this decision coming out of the AVO discussions, on Friday, June 23rd, we were able to come together before my colleague ministers departed St. Martin, and we formally signed the AVO decision list. A special thanks is once again being extended to PGIA and its partners for making the conference room available on a very short request to have this special moment taken, because oftentimes we have these meetings and weeks and months later the decision list is then signed. But we're very proud that after such many years, we were able to do this within 24 hours. I am extending thanks to my colleague ministers, namely Minister Frank Weerwind, representing the Netherlands, Minister Rocco Chong of Aruba, and Minister Charlton Hatto of Curacao, their delegations, my staff, our partners, and all who provided some level of service and support to have made this AVO an ultimate success. I'd like to be able to bring to the attention of the public that the Customs Department is showing consistency by publishing their work when it comes to the heightening of their controls at our import or border points of the island. These controls are yielding successful interception of fake or counterfeit goods, illicit drugs, weapons, and even large sums of cash. Shipments to the island will continue to be under high checks by the Customs Department, who are in pursuit of enforcing their legal authority to protect St. Martin. And finally, I want to bring to the attention to the general public. We have recognized that there is a high rise, and I do understand that persons will express this has been happening for years. However, I think it's very important that I make note after consultation and discussions with the fraud department or management at KPSM, as well as the OM office. Great attention is going to be paid to persons who are representing themselves, opposing themselves as representatives or consultants to be able to apply for residency for persons. They're accepting monies from these individuals and they're not submitting the papers for them. And then when the mobile team of the Immigration Department is doing their controls and they detain persons, then I am being bombarded with calls and requests for persons to be released because the intention was to submit their paperwork. We give the opportunity for requests for dispensation letters, so the exemption letters that can be requested for the 6 to 8 weeks to apply. There are persons who use it. We have seen opportunities or instances where persons have also abused that opportunity. But I say that to say this: I'm hereby sharing to all persons, if you have proof that you have paid someone to submit documents on your behalf, that person has not done so, you are of the opinion that they have, for the lack of a better expression, scammed you out of your monies. We have the fraud department to handle this case. I am encouraging you to contact the fraud department and file an official complaint. Do not be afraid that you or this will be held against you on your immigration status, because that's not the role and responsibility of the fraud department. However, you run the risk of still being detained if you walk away from this situation and not stand up for yourself.
And in other news, the Party for Progress, PFP, members of Parliament MP Melissa Gums and Independent Member of Parliament Ludmila De Weaver said on Monday in a press conference that a meeting set to extend business hours for bars and restaurants came as a surprise to the faction. The meeting was set for Monday. However, it was postponed due to the Minister of Tourism not being able to attend. The two members of Parliament mentioned the grievances about the proposed law by the sitting coalition.
Businesses can do it. Good afternoon again, everyone. I will share what I remember, as much as I remembered, as accurately as I've remembered it. Businesses could, if you are a nightclub, first of all, you go through the process of vetting of whether or not you're going to be a hindrance to anyone within the neighborhood. And for instance, MP Gums mentioned Lotus nightclub, for instance. And one thing that I will say about Lotus nightclub is hardly any complaints ever came in about them because they are properly noise controlled in a sense
And they're
of,
outside too,
yes,
yeah.
they're enclosed, they're fully enclosed. Whatever they have done to basically block that noise emanating from their establishment and disturbing the neighborhood, because you are also in a valley in the Simpson Bay area. You have hills on the Simpson Bay side, you have hills on the Bellevue side by Port de Plaisance. So anyone who plays music within this area, whether it's on the water or on land, are going to be causing echoes within the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And what has happened in the past is, or what I saw as well is, certain restaurants, for instance, would request to play background music. As we all know, background music is mood music. It's kind of like if you're in an elevator playing background music. This is not club music where you're dancing, especially if you're open ear. So basically, even coming and sending in a request saying that your background music playing, that is not a club. It's 100% a denial for you being a nightclub.
Yeah.
Just come out straight and say you want to be a nightclub. And if you are, let's say, for instance, a restaurant that has live music playing, for instance, if you wanted to do a bigger event, a longer event, you have a special artist coming in, then you would always be able to send in a request to the ministry to say, we have a special event happening on New Year's Eve. We have so-and-so coming in. We would like to extend our opening times until 4 a.m. at least, or 5 a.m. Please, let us know what else is necessary to approve it. Basically, what would happen is it would be a combination of the Ministry of TEAT, because they control opening times, the Ministry of Justice, because you would need to notify the police department, maybe even sometimes Ministry of General Affairs because of the fire department, to make sure that, let's say, in that New Year's request, if they wanted fireworks, they would need to notify the fire department. Perhaps even VRAME, because if their event is going to cause traffic in a certain area, you need to be able to not block the public roads, and you see how it can get complicated. But just to do anything willy-nilly is not what is allowed ever. Hopefully that answers your question.
It does,
that
yeah,
process.
because I think what so the reason that was written in the law was essentially that you already have establishments that are closing later than their allowed permits. Of course, with waivers, so I guess a standing waiver, and then if there's like a special request, like what was explained to me by one of the club workers, that if there's a special request for like New Year's Eve, like you said, then they can go and try to extend till 5 a.m. or so.
Stay tuned. SXM Daily News continues with more right after this.
At SXM, we're taking travel and tourism to new heights. Here we boast spacious check-in areas, 10 passport control points, comfortable departure lounges, and finally, there's an airport in the Caribbean that takes your travel plans as seriously as you do. Princess Juliana International Airport.
During the hurricane season, a potential tropical cyclone can produce rainfall that can cause flash flooding and rockfalls. Stay away from flood-prone areas during heavy rainfall, such as Jump Up Casino on Emma Plain Road in Phillipsburg, ATLH Road Roundabout, L.B. Scott Road from Emilio Wilson Park until Cake House Supermarket, Zaker's Gut from Petro Plus gas station until the Seventh-day Adventist Church, Welcalaken Road K Hill from Welcalaken Road Roundabout until the One-Tete Loke Roundabout, Beacon Hill Road from Sunset Bar and Grill until the beginning of White Sands Road, and Rhine Road, also known as Mullet Bay Road, after Sonesto Maho Beach Hotel to the entrance of Cooper Coy from the intersection of the University Drive until the intersection of Rio Grande. For more information on how you can keep yourself and your family safe this hurricane season, visit stmartingolf.org/hurricane. This public service announcement is brought to you by the government of St. Martin.
Mealtime rules. Don't serve yourself first. Do not eat with your mouth open. Don't rest your elbows on the table. Don't make noise when eating. Does not apply when enjoying KFC buckets. When we bucket together, we are as we really are.
Welcome back, viewers. You are watching SXM Daily News, and I am Valerie Van Putten. And as we continue now with more in this edition of the news, owner of Tropical Pops, Dominique Hodge, recently concluded her participation in the Young Leaders of the Americas Initiative, YLAI, Fellowship Program. This program, administered by the United States Department of State, aimed to support promising entrepreneurs and business leaders from the Western Hemisphere, and it lasted for 4 weeks. In an insightful interview, Dominique shed light on the challenges she encountered during her fellowship experience.
I just want to say this. I don't want to call the name of the company.
Okay.
Only because my experience was not the ideal experience.
Okay.
So they do pair you with a company, and the purpose is for that company, the owner or someone, management, to work with you. Unfortunately, the company they paired me with, they were busy opening other locations, and the owner was not as available as he thought he would be. So I did not have the typical or ideal experience. I actually had to kind of find my own way and do my own thing. So I don't want to call the name because I don't want to throw them under the bus, because there's no bad feelings towards them. We met, he was very honest with me. We were able to have honest conversations. And so I realized, hey, this is not going to be what they thought it was going to be or what I wanted it to be. And I'm also grateful for the opening, the pre-departure orientation. We met with alumni from Aruba and Curacao, and one of the ladies, her name is Indira, and I appreciate her so much because she told us, she was like, you need to adjust your expectations.
Yeah.
You know, these are human beings as well, and don't go in with too high of an expectation. And in that moment when I met with the owner and I realized, oh, this is not going to go the way it's going to go, I heard her voice saying, manage your expectations, remember they're human beings.
Dominique also shared her story of resilience and determination after facing a challenging start to her fellowship.
The manager of the co-working space was from Argentina, and we had someone from Argentina, and we basically had an open door to the co-working space. It was a beautiful space. And then speaking to the manager, he turned to me and he was like, so what do you do? And I was like, well, I make popsicles, you know, frozen fruit pops. And he was like, oh, so are you going to come and put some in the freezer? Like, and I was like, what? No, like, I don't have my machines. I don't have anything. Yeah. But again, because I knew I didn't have the business to go to, I was like, I'm not going to sit home doing nothing. Yeah. So quick Amazon search, I found some of the things I needed. And I was like, I can't make my frozen fruit pops because I use fruit and stuff like that. Yeah. But I decided, I've played with the boozy pops before, and it's something I want to go into more this year. So I was like, I'm going to test out some boozy pops while I'm here. And that's what I did. Like, literally, I just pushed myself. I got some of the things that I needed. Like, I had to buy a label maker, different things. Yeah. Got those from Amazon, and then I went to like supermarkets and I started to get ingredients, and I just put it together.
In other news, the prosecutor's office in Martin has entered a demand of 16 years imprisonment for the brutal assault of a young woman in the vicinity of the Emerald Funeral Home in July of 2022. The man suspected of having stabbed the 2016 senior carnival queen, Estica Hawley, multiple times, and who allegedly tried to slit her throat on July the 31st, 2022, appeared before a judge in the court of first instance on Wednesday. Estica Hawley had to fight for her life after she was stabbed multiple times, for instance, in her throat, her back and chest, her hands and fingers, and her ankles. She was taken in critical but stable condition to the intensive care unit at the St. Martin Medical Center and survived the ordeal. The attempt on Miss Hawley's life unfolded at the parking lot of Emerald Funeral Home and Crematory in Cahill, across from the hospital entrance. The funeral company's cameras recorded the brutal attack, and the recording will be part of the evidence in this case. The alleged perpetrator, MMB, 39 years of age, fled the scene in the victim's car, which was later found in French Quarter. He reported himself at the police station in Phillipsburg later that day. He remains in preventive custody until his trial. Considering the severity of the alleged crime, Detectives said that they recognized B as the man visible on the funeral company's camera recordings, and they based this on the fact that they knew B as a person and recognized him by his physique, his posture, and facial features. Wednesday's hearing took place in a well-guarded courthouse. Not only were there 8 police officers in the courtroom, there was also a large police presence outside the courthouse. The victim in this case will give a statement to the court during the trial hearing. The verdict in the case will be handed down by the Court of First Instance on July the 19th, 2023. Now let's take a look at our weather report. Although lingering moisture will maintain cloudy skies and a low chance of brief local showers, a relatively drier and more stable atmosphere will restrict shower activity. Additionally, varying concentrations of Saharan dust will affect air quality during the next couple of days. So persons with allergies and/or respiratory illnesses, you should remain vigilant. Slight to moderate seas are expected through the next few days. And now, let's take a look at our 3-day forecast. And you're watching SXM Daily News. We will have more when the news continues right after this.
It's hurricane season. Are you prepared? Here are a few tips to keep in mind to help keep you and your family safe. The Atlantic hurricane season runs from June 1st to November 30th, with the peak occurring between mid-August and late October. This hurricane season, be sure to put together a go bag. A disaster supply kit including a flashlight, batteries, cash, first aid and supplies, medications, and copies of your critical information if you need to evacuate. This public service announcement was brought to you by the government of St. Martin. We live in a world where pets share our collective existence. As such, we have an obligation to take care of them as an integral part to our lives. During hurricane season, protecting pets is crucial. They too have an emotional and physical well-being. Create a space for them, keeping them comfortable, and after the hurricane passes, slowly reintroduce them to their surroundings once safe. This message has been brought to you by the Department of Communication.
At SXM, we're taking travel and tourism to new heights. Here we boast spacious check-in areas, 10 passport control points, comfortable departure lounges, and finally, there's an airport in the Caribbean that takes your travel plans as seriously as you do. Princess Juliana International Airport.
Now back on St. Martin, POSH Production organized a debate night on June 24th for the 2023 Interscholastic Pageant. The event showcased delegates from St. Martin Academy, the Milton Peters College, and the Mac High School. They engaged in a debate concerning the issue of the growing gap in access to mental health treatment. The delegates took turn at the podium presenting compelling arguments both in favor of and against the given statement. Each student was granted 6 minutes to articulate their stance, followed by an additional 5 minutes for skillful rebuttals against opposing viewpoints. The Honorable Anna Richardson, Minister of Justice, was in attendance for the occasion, demonstrating her support for the organization she was previously involved with. The results and points accrued from the debate segment of the pageant will be unveiled during the main event scheduled for this approaching Friday, which is June the 30th.
The mood, the widening gap in mental health disparities, has a negative impact in marginalized communities, has several implications for us to self-reflect. I, the first speaker, will use the Collins Online Dictionary to define the following key terms: widening gap, a big difference in issues that affect a larger number of people. Mental health disparities refers to the imbalanced treatment of a group, especially in the medical system. Negative impact, an unpleasant situation. Marginalized communities are communities who are confined to the lower edges of society and are denied involvement in mainstream activities. The mode therefore establishes that people who are seen lower in society experience unequal mental treatment, and this is therefore harmful to them.
My intelligent audience, my worthy opponents seem to have been misguided and totally disorganized in their presentation of tonight's moot. We have listened keenly to their arguments presented, and guess what? They have not provided us with enough credible evidence that support their arguments. While community support is important, it cannot replace resources and professional health care. Mental illness is a complex issue that requires a combination of community support and professional treatment to effectively address the issue. The initiatives may provide support for some, but they cannot reach all those in need. The marginalized community needs a comprehensive approach that includes access to resources, healthcare, and support for all those affected by mental health.
I am here this evening to express my full concurrence with Mr. MPC and to unequivocally support the proposition that the widening gap in mental health disparities has a negative impact in marginalized communities. Mr. MPC eloquently outlined the mental health disparities faced by the marginalized communities, namely racial and ethnic minorities, low-income individuals and families, as well as immigrants and refugees. Now, I will delve into the unpleasant implications thereof. The gap is widening, the chasm is broadening, the tiny crack is becoming a large canyon right before our eyes. Moderator, the disparity in access to mental health care for patients of color, financially challenged families, and undocumented immigrants are on a rise. This can be attributed to the stigmatization of mental health, the digitalization of mental health services, and the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Speaker, to empower you by sharing my knowledge on moot. I will look at the moot from an educational standpoint. Many children have suffered, is suffering, and will continue to suffer from mental health issues, not because they are marginalized, but due to factors beyond their control. Factors such as the recent COVID-19 pandemic. When schools were closed, students were cut off from their friends. Many describe negative effects on their mental health. When I examined the UNICEF 2021 Regional Brief on Latin America and the Caribbean report, 2 comments by students expressed the negative effects COVID-19 had on them.
And All Access TV St. Martin was present at the 25th edition of the St. Kitts Music Festival, which was held from June the 22nd to June the 25th, 2023. It was held on the beautiful island of St. Kitts. The annual event showcased a diverse range of musical genres, attracting attendees from around the world and contributing to the cultural and economic development of the country. All Access TV St. Martin had the exclusive opportunity to interview Gramps Morgan and capture the Gramps Morgan experience on camera. Jameer Morgan, a talented musician and one of Gramps Morgan's sons, also took to the stage to showcase his own musical prowess. This marked All Access TV St. Martin's 4th time covering the St. Kitts Music Festival, coinciding with the 16th anniversary. And with that, viewers, we've concluded this edition of SXM Daily News broadcast for Thursday, June 29th, 2023. I am Valerie Von Putten, and on behalf of the SXM Daily News team, we do thank you for watching. Bye-bye now.